Hello, welcome to Cosmic Love Connections. You have two hosts. You have Catherine Lanigan and Judy Jewett, and thank you for being here. How are you, Catherine?
I'm just great today, Judy. Thank you for having me here again. I just truly enjoy our chats. This is so great.
I really do. I really enjoy our chats. Let's just jump right in. And what would you like to talk about today? What would you like to share?
What I would like to talk about are timelines. My book is called Angel Timelines, but I want to talk about the whole concept of timelines and time, where we are today in our world with time. The in our universe, this is the only planet where there is linear time, where you mark a day and you have a calendar and you do everything by the hour. We were just discussing what we got to do for the rest of the day. But every place else, quantum physics and of course, Einstein have all proven that time is ever present. There's the past, the future, and the present are all going on at the same time. There's probably this infinitesimal little teeny tiny little iota of a moment that is really the present, which is probably the intake of a breath, less than the intake of a breath, because everything is always going to be the past or the future, but it is all one. So even for those who do believe in past lives, there's really actually not a past life. It is all these different dimensions and parallel lives and lives that you're living all at one time. You have your higher self, of course, which is who you really are, is your divine self. But you're living all these different experiences. These are experiences of God. I've always said we have that God spark that's within us. We have that in us. That is our soul. That is our creative beingness, that of what we are. And understanding that we can see all of our past lives, that's because they're all going on at the same time. You can also see your future lives. I was listening to a podcast the other day of a lady who remote views, and she was trying to make a decision about what she should do with her life at this juncture where she's at right now. And one was to really expand her business and go out this way. And the other was to choose her family. She has a little son, choose her family and kind of play it safe. And what would that look like 10 years from now, 20 years from now, if she chose this one? Well, she could remote view to that timeline, because that's already there. That future is already there. So she could go there and find out, well, that's how she was happy and contented, and that was wonderful and everything else. But she's really here about humanity, and she wants to help humanity. So when she went to the other timeline, where she really put herself out there and really had to spend more time away from the family, away from the house and all that kind of thing, she saw what that life would be like in 20 years. So as we all start finding out all of our different talents and psychic abilities that we have, psychic talents, we can all do the same thing. And those timelines are choices. Now, the world right now is in such chaos, and but I want everyone to understand that, this place that the earth and society and communities and governments and everything is in, we're all in these cycles. We're in a whole lot of cycles. As we discussed earlier, before we were recording, the astrological aspects right now for the United States is we have the same astrological aspects as we had in 1776, which was when our country was founded, the founding Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, and we had the war for independence from Great Britain. Well, that timeline, that is a timeline, and but that is also a cycle. That's that particular cycle, the Enlightenment period. Well, the other cycles that are going on now are climactic. I can remember my uncle back in the 50s when I was a little girl. He said, you have to understand, we went to the beach this is the story. We went to the beach. I was probably about 5 or 6 years old, and I said, "The water is so much lower than it was last year, and we don't have it. We don't have, we have a lot more beach than we had, last year. The water was higher." And my uncle explained to me that our lake are glacier lakes, and they're on a 7-year. They're spring fed, and they're on a 7-year cycle. And there's a 7-year cycle, and a 70-year cycle, a 700-year cycle, a 7,000-year cycle in climate. But there's also a 26,000-year cycle. There is a 35,000-year cycle. There's a 500,000-year cycle when different things happen. Some of them, as you know, were when the poles shifted. A million. What was a 1,000,005 BC or something like that. And the woolly mammoth was, quick frozen with food in his belly, right? So because I've been to the Chicago Museum of History, and that mammoth is in that museum. So I've seen that guy, and so I know he's there. So we are also in one of those cycles. The galactic center is at 26 degrees Sagittarius. That is also a cycle. We've found. Archaeologists have found civilizations, Göbekli Tepe as an example, as 12,500 years ago, which, the historians all want to say, well, the earth is only 5,000 years old. Well, no, it's not. Sorry. It's something like, I listened to a podcast the other day that said that our DNA, our human DNA, I want to differentiate between angels and light beings and everybody else, but our human DNA contains all the knowledge of all the universe that goes back 30,000.5 billion years ago. That's how much information we have in us. Whenever you want the answer, it's inside you. You can access whatever it is you need to, you don't have to buy the encyclopedia like my dad did, but it's all there. But all these cycles that we are experiencing, from the weather to the thinking processes, we're coming into the age of Aquarius, where our technology is just zooming faster than any of us can keep up. It was hard enough for me to learn to use an iPhone. Now we've got all kinds of other stuff going on. So all of this creates chaos within us. So we're all living in the middle of this chaos, and then at the same time, we have. But there are 40 elections that are going to take place at the same time this fall all around the world. So not just our government, not just the United States, but all these other governments are all choosing new leaders. So of course, there's a whole lot of emphasis on the solar eclipse, that it has a lot to do with government and leadership. Well, of course it does. Even though it's going right through the United States, it still has an effect worldwide. All of it affects the whole world, So it's not just like, oh, gee whiz, it's just going to happen in Kerrville, Texas, or wherever the X is. I don't know where the X is. But so these timelines, when each person, we all have the choices. When we say we want you to be positive about your thinking and think about what you want your future to be, that future that you're really thinking about and you're planning, and I don't care what, what do you see for your family? I want to see freedom from control for my grandchildren, and my granddaughter is now, dating a really nice young man, and they probably will get married and have some children. Well, now I'm going to have great-grandchildren. And I want to know that my great-grandchild is going to live in a land of freedom and free countries. Where are those anymore? We don't know. We're being governed at this time by people who are never an elected official. There are all kinds of WHO, the UN. We didn't elect any of those people. Think about it. There wasn't. Whether the election is fake or manipulated or whatever, we didn't elect them. But they're making all kinds of rules about my life and my granddaughter's life and my great granddaughter's life whenever she comes along. So when you choose, you're going to choose between these two major choices, the positive one and the negative one. Are you going to, is that choice that you're making right now to have less and less freedom, to be more central? A more centralized government means more and more controlled by the government. Look at the Chinese, not that I'm being political or anything, but that's just a fact. These are facts. The Chinese people, there was a video that's out this, if a Chinese person jaywalks across the street, they are caught on camera, and then their bank account is docked a certain amount of money because they have walked across the street. If they do it more than once, then jaywalked across the street, it's docked 2 times, and then they're locked out of their bank account. Now that's control, and that's what centralized banking, centralized government holding over your banking and all of your money. Your money is given to you by the government. You go to work, but your money comes from the government, and they have control over everything that you have. If you buy, you cannot buy too much food. You can't buy too much sugar or too much, soda pop or all that kind of thing. So it's controlling where you spend your yen and dollars or whatever. So those are choices. When you keep choosing more and more freedom, and you keep making those positive choices to create the best possible life that you can have for yourself, and be the best possible person that you can be, which is love, joy, peace, happiness, kindness to others, respect for other human beings, respect for the earth itself. Every time you take a bag of plastic out to be recycled, that's making a positive choice. You don't have to be, trying to change the world or become a pastor and sing all of your thoughts and ideas from a pulpit. Each one of these small things, it doesn't seem like a lot, but it really is. You are helping Mother Gaia every day that you do something to keep the earth clean, growing your own food, even if it's, I grow all my little herbs. I don't have a big garden. I can't rake anymore, especially after I broke my arms. And I found that out the other day. We cleaned up some leaves and everything in the backyard. Not a good decision. This was not a positive choice. I can tell you it was not a positive choice. So all of those things, just those things alone really do make a difference. And that difference goes out to the collective, and that love that you have. You are showing respect for Mother Earth each time that you recycle. You are showing respect for the universe and our fellow human beings to help create a new world that is a place where we all want to live and thrive. We want to thrive. We don't want to just exist.
Right.
We want to thrive.
Yes, and I agree. And I want to go back to the timelines, if I may. What I love about it is you brought the relationship of the timelines of thousands of years ago, right? You brought them that are in the last 100 or 200 years or 300 years. And as you talked about the timeline that we each are. So what I teach in Real Healing Methods is you live in now. Everything you have is now. Anything you remove is in the now time. Your future is now. Right. Your past is now. So I want to take that a step farther, because as you said, as we're awakened, there's so many different degrees of awakening, and no one is better than anybody else. And so if you hear of things during the eclipse, or you hear of things happening of the world that has a negative twist to it, you might want to close your eyes and take a deep breath and ask, is that true or not? Your higher self is going to tell you if that information is true or false. So when we talk about being in the timeline of love and joy, and you get bombarded all the time with so much negativity, right? And you're being told, well, this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, and this is the most important thing. And Catherine said it, because we don't really live in linear times, it's linear time. We think we do, but we don't. Okay.
Right.
And everything is in the now. And do you want to harmonize with the love? Then you have to not take on the negative energy. And when you find that you're in fear, you've got to bring yourself back to love.
That's right.
And so in the timeline of love, Catherine, I have something I would like for you to do for us.
Okay. Okay.
Couple things. So what I'd like for you to do is, the secret for everybody watching this is to return to their most memorable time of love. And if we can treat every person and be aware of every thought with that love, then we're putting out the highest vibration, which is going to do more for the planet. So you are a romance novelist. So you could help us to get into that love of the heart, in a love for ourselves, our love for a pet, a love for another human being, right? Or the love of nature. But you could help us to connect to that love. So if somebody forgets, they can come back to the show and they'll go back to this area and, of what this love is, this beautiful love.
Absolutely. Just as you were talking and stuff, and I thought, for most of us, and not every single person, but for most of us, real pure love, when we really, really think about it, is something that when we were children, before we were programmed by schools and religions and dogma and all kinds of other things, when we were just that 3-year-old pure love. And I can remember a couple of things. I can remember when I was a young mother, and my little boy came in, and it was on his 3rd birthday. And we lived in New Orleans at the time. Not to say anything bad about New Orleans, but none of the children were allowed to play with my son because he was a Yankee in New Orleans. Okay. But anyway, I gave a birthday party for him. And I went around to all of the houses and said, please let your son or let your daughter come to the birthday party. I have gifts for every child for them to take home. And I was broke at the time. It wasn't like, I could afford little presents for all these kids. But anyway, all the children did come with their moms. They brought them in. And that little boy came to me and just said, "Oh, Mommy, thank you for having all these people come to be with me." Now that moment of pure love, and he went around and just 3 years old, just went around and hugged every child, even though they had been shunning him since the day we had moved in, which had been 1.5 years by that time, and wouldn't play with him. On that day, he hugged every single person and just thanked them, walked them all to the door, and made sure they had their presents. And he was the perfect little host. I thought, well, what happened? He grew up to be like 25 years old and he's only 3, But that was that moment of pure love. And I believe that every person's got one of those kind of moments. And then for myself, when my sister was dying, she said, "Do you remember when I was only about 3 years old, and we, Mom and Dad, we went to Cincinnati and we were in a hotel, and I was 8. I would have been 7 or 8 years old." And she said, Mother wouldn't let me have the chocolate mint that came after the dinner. And we went to the bathroom and she said, "You gave me your chocolate mint." And she said, "And I've never forgotten it." Now, that's what she was saying on that moment. Now, I mean, there were so many things that my sister did. She was absolutely pure love, but I've always thought of that was, here are these two children, and that was that moment that, I mean, she died only a few days later, and that was the incident that she remembered. So I think all of us have those kinds of loving, there's just absolute giving, you know, that
I agree. I absolutely agree. And I know in the work I do, it is all about the love, the inner child. And what you're describing is the pure love, is the Christ consciousness. There,
right.
your son had no judgment of the kids. He didn't understand why they weren't being nice. It wasn't a part
Right.
of his reality. But
Right.
so he had no judgment, right?
Right. Yeah, no,
And he got to experience so much love and so much gratitude. And it's no different than when a mother has a new child, right?
right.
A newborn baby, or we go back, especially if we're light workers and we do the work, we go back to that time when we
Yeah.
were young, when all we knew was love.
Right.
You may not feel like you experienced love.
Right.
It may not have shown up as love, your memories, but it's there.
It
And
is there.
it is a beautiful time for everyone to awaken to the memory of the love that they are, because
Yeah.
it's there for everyone. No one is left out. Everyone has the spark of the creator. We all
Yes, we do.
have the love, every one
Yes,
of
we
us.
do. Yeah.
We do. And unfortunately, sometimes it is the pain and suffering, that stay in our mind instead of the love. And all you got to do is go within that energy. And I do that through real healing methods. And I teach people how to do that in my certification program, and how to be able to go right into the DNA, into the cells, into the memories, into the patterns and imprints, and release it. And then all you have is love, because that's all that was really there in the beginning, right?
That's right. That's all it was there to start with.
Love is so sacred, is when you're on a walk and you see a deer, or you see a squirrel or a bird or a butterfly.
Oh, yeah.
That everybody can experience that, or stop, as the Buddhists do in mindfulness, is you just stop and you pay attention to the wind, to the
Yes.
grass, to the flowers, to the trees. Because when you do that in the now, you will experience the magic.
Yes, you will. Yes, you
And
will.
everyone can do that, even now. We can all do this now, because we have a choice, right? On the timeline we want to be on. Do we want to be on the timeline of people trying to sell a propaganda story of pain and suffering, or harm? Or do we want to be in the love and trust the love,
And
right?
trust the universe. That's right.
We
Yes.
have to trust. It doesn't matter what you do or what you've done. Everybody still has to learn how to have faith.
Yes.
And by the way, that came
Agreed.
to my mind because I read that today in your book, Angel's Timeline. So if I may I go to this for a minute? Your book?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
So I love your book, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
I love
Thank
it. And it is,
Well, good, because I downloaded it from the angels. I didn't write it. They did.
yeah. And I feel that so many people have the stories and memories of a miracle, of something different. It would be great, Catherine, if they could share their story, right? And I think more and more stories of hope and love would be a great thing. The one story in here of about the timelines, I'm sorry, I went off on, started to tell what it was, and then I start going into your whole book.
Yeah.
It's towards the end. I've got it marked. So I am so sorry that I did that. My special angel. No, that wasn't the one. I did read about frequency, the dovetailing timelines. Pick out a story from here and tell me about it. Tell the
Okay.
listeners, yours.
Well, probably the most important one, the one that I've gotten a lot of really great reviews, but the one that's just blown everybody the most is the 10,000 angels. And this was just before did I tell this on the last show, the 10,000 angels, or not?
Well, it doesn't matter. You
Okay.
might have in one of the shows, but we didn't really go into the depths like you did the book. So
Okay. Okay. The 10,000, this was in August of 2019, because the COVID was just beginning on the East Coast, New York and stuff, in November, December of 2019. Well, anyway, in August, I was asleep in my bedroom. I heard a knock on my bedroom door, and I woke up because I thought, who would be knocking on my door? I'm sleeping, the house is all locked and everything. And it was Jesus. And not that this was unfamiliar to me, but I mean, but I didn't say, oh, you again, And so he said, Catherine, wake up. And I woke up, and that was Jesus. And he said, come follow me. And I said, okay. And I got up out of the bed, and we went to the front door, and he said, now open the front door. And I've always said that my action of come follow me and then open the front door are signs of surrender to him being my master, him being my leader, my master. So I opened up the front door, and we live across from the golf course, and there in 3 chairs was Saint Michael the Archangel, another angel, and then my deceased husband. And my deceased husband just turned around and just smiled at me. And then Archangel Michael said, look over there, look down there. Now, straight down from this window behind me is a fairway that's almost a mile long and just goes on and on and on and on and on. And halfway down the fairway were 10,000 angels, wing to wing, glowing. They were humming and singing in that high-pitched, gorgeous sound frequency that they make. I mean, there's not a singing bowl that can even come close to how they sounded. It was just amazing. I mean, really, really beautiful. And they, all had white robes on, white wings touching each other, and their feet were just above the ground. They hovered just above the ground. Their feet were not on the grass, but just above the ground, maybe about that far off the ground. And all they said was, we are here. That's all they said. And I was like, okay, we're here, fine. And anyway, then everybody disappeared. I went back to my room, and I was like, okay, what was that all about? Now, I had heard the story of Jesus saying, don't you think that my Father would give me legion upon legion upon legion of angels if I asked for them, meaning 10,000 angels. So I knew that there was, and I'd seen pictures that were depictions of the angels, but that didn't look like that. It didn't feel like that. It was just amazing. There was light everywhere. Well, then later, when I started analyzing it and everything, I went, all right, now what does we are here mean? They're supposed to be in the, at least the celestial realms, whatever you want to call it, heaven, the next, the 22nd dimension, whatever. But why are they here on there? I've always known that the archangels are around the earth, and they will come down and show up, or bilocate, or give you a message, and that kind of thing. But usually they will come in as an energy. You just feel their energy, or you may see some lights, that kind of thing. Or I hear Michael the Archangel, that kind of thing. But anyway, we are here. And then why weren't their feet touching the ground? So then I got the message later as human beings are the boots on the ground. They cannot come to the earth and no one's going to save us. We have to save ourselves. We have to make these choices ourselves. We have to fight the fight. We have to fight the good fight, all that kind of thing. So that's what they were. And no one knew at that time. I can remember astrologers saying, well, we know something's coming, but we don't know what it is. There was no talk of a pandemic. There was talk of war. That's the first thing I thought of. I thought, oh my God, we're going to war or a depression. It wasn't that long ago that we had the 2008 banking debacle and Freddie Mac and Freddie Mae and Bernie Madoff and everything. I mean, who would invest with Bernie Madoff, and Madoff with the money, that kind of thing. So I just kept thinking about it. And then sure enough, a few months later, we were all locked down. And that's what they were here to warn us about.
Yeah, so the important thing is if we're open, we will know. We will know.
Yeah.
We have to be open without having, one thing you said, there's no expectations. You had nothing, you didn't know anything. You were just there as a messenger getting the message.
That's right.
And then it could unfold. And that's what we all have, because we all have it within us to be able to do that. So pay attention. And remember, the angels are with you always.
Always.
All on your angels. We all are born with angels.
Yes, we are. Every person has at least one, if not two, guardian angels to take care of them.
We all do. And then you can call on the archangels. Archangel Michael is one that we use for protection. There's Archangel Gabriel, Archangel Raphael, Archangel Metatron. I mean, there's a list of them, and I don't want to leave anyone out, but those are some of the primary.
Yeah, there's like 30 of them. There's quite a few. There's several books that list, the Hebrew Bible lists, all the archangels. I mean, there's a bunch.
Right. We can call on the galactic light beings.
Yes,
that
you can.
Is also, if you are open to that, in the celestial realm is of the light. So there is so much help. We don't have to be alone. And this is just, it's going to be some rocky times, but it doesn't mean that we're going to die or something's going to happen. It just means that something may present itself, and you're just supposed to stay in love and put love and feel the love, because remember, who you are today is who you're going to be tomorrow, right? So we want to be in peace and in love and hold the light and be kind to other people.
Yes.
And please come to our show. We are on weekly. Reach out to us. Would you please give us your website? It is also down below, but go ahead if you'll do that, please.
It's www.Catherine, CATHERINE, Lanigan, LANIGAN.com. And then if you do have an angel story, I am already working on the 5th book in the series, and send that to my email at CATH Lanigan, LANIGAN, the number 1 @gmail.com. I do want your stories. There are stories from people who have sent them to me, and I will contact you. I will email you. We will discuss your story, and if we've got something going, I will put it in the book.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah.
Oh, yes. And make sure you have a chance to go to realhealingmethods.com/real. And that will take you to learn more about the healing modality that will help you and will help soften and help you to stay in that peace and love, and anything that's blocking it, it'll remove it. So that's realhealingmethods.com/real. If you forget the real /real, it's okay, because you'll still go and learn more about what I do and what I can do for you, or how I can help you. So with that, thank you very much. Now, Catherine, can we share a little bit about the topic of the next show that they want to make sure that they hear?
And then the next show, I really would like to talk about some visitations from angels that have come to me and what they said about this time that we're in right now. Oh,
I would love that. And we talked about sharing some prayers.
Yes, and we want to share, and we do have some prayers we want to share with you. So I think they would be very interested in our next show.
All right. With that, thank you very much.